This is why your Lightroom reduces file size. Hi and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm McEvoy, and this week on my blog I wrote the curiously titled post, This is why your Lightroom reduces file size. I'll come on to the title afterwards. Who am I? Well, I'm a photographer, I'm a blogger, and I'm also the creator of the Photography Explained podcast. Now, Lightroom's my thing. I've been using it since it first came out. Now, this is the second recording because the first one I said, actually, I've got the CD somewhere. I should go and excuse the noise in the background. It's a Friday afternoon when I'm recording this and somebody decided to start drilling completely unannounced. Anyway, let's crack on. So I started with Lightroom 1.0 back in 2007, I think. Here it is. That's how you got Lightroom to start with. Only a CD and a serial number. That was Lightroom 1. Then you got 2, 3, 4. I've got 5 somewhere. That's not what this post's about, but reason for telling you that is I've been using Lightroom since the very beginning. So it reduces your file size. So why the title? Well, the title was written by somebody who does stuff to help me get stuff ranked on the internet. Confession over. Let's give you the answer. Lightroom reduces the file size when importing images out of Lightroom if adjustments are made to the image size, quality or dimensions in the file settings and image sizing areas of the export dialog box. That's image size, quality or dimensions in the file settings and image sizing areas of the export dialog box. Sounded better second time, didn't it? So how do you know you're doing this? Well, you can check this by simply selecting a photo, then export and checking to see if any of these boxes are checked in the file settings or image sizing sections. If they're not, it's not going to do anything. Your files will go out, well, with whatever the settings are. So, who am I to tell you this stuff? Well, I've told you that. Now, the point I want to make here is Lightroom, as far as I know, and I have looked into this, as well as having all these many years of working knowledge, pretty much as anybody on the planet, really, apart from people who work at Adobe, because I was in there at the very beginning. So, this thing here, it doesn't change the file size of any photo in your catalogue, as far as I am aware. So this only applies when you're exporting an image out of Lightroom. Okay, so cropping doesn't change the file size, because when you crop something, it's all still there, because you can undo it, can't you? Lightroom is non-destructive editing. You can do anything in Lightroom and you can undo it. Right then, so when you export images out of Lightroom, there are things that you can change. These are file location, file name, video stuff. I don't do videos in Lightroom, I'm not going to lie to you. Image sizing, output sharpening, metadata, watermarking and post-processing. So those are all the options when you export a photo out of Lightroom. So why would you export a photo out of Lightroom? Well, it's so other people can use your photos and can access them. When I've done a client shoot, I take all my photos in RAW and then I export them out of Lightroom as JPEGs, and I will change the physical dimension of the file size, but the file in Lightroom, the original edited photo, stays the same. So we're talking here about stuff that you export out of Lightroom. Okay, if you go to the blog post, there's screenshots of all this stuff. That's rickmcavoyphotography.com/blog, and a splendid blog it is too. So the options when exporting out of Lightroom. So you've got an image or images. You can do this to 1 or 100 images. Doesn't make any difference. Well, it does make a difference. It takes a bit longer. So image format. I shoot in RAW. I edit in RAW. I export in JPEG. I need to say here, if you go to the blog post, you can see the actual settings that I use, which is rather helpful. Quality. Well, back in the day, 92% quality was touted as the magic number where there's virtually or actually no physical visible loss of quality, but the 92% gives you a significant file size reduction, so you're not losing anything. Don't know if that's still the case, but I'm still at 92%. Right, let's fly through this quickly. Color space, C-O-L-O-U-R, please, Adobe. Can you stop spelling it C-O-L-O-R? sRGB, that's what I do. Limit file size to. Well, it depends, but you can set the file size to the maximum you want it. And then in image sizing, let's get this right. Image sizing, you can resize the photo to physically different dimensions. And you can do that in pixels, inches or centimeters. So you can be very specific and you can do width, height or long and whatever they call them. So you can change the physical dimension. Obviously for most photography you've got a 3:2 aspect ratio. So if you wanted a photo 900 pixels wide, say for the internet, not unreasonable, you would make it 900 by 600. Then again, that's pixels. If you wanted a square photo, 6 inches by 6 inches, you could change it to 6 inches by 6 inches. Right, so what do I do? Well, I reduce down the files and check out my blog and you can see exactly what I'm doing. So I'll change from RAW to JPEG. I will go with my 92% for quality and I will limit the file size for a commercial photo to 5 megabytes physical size. And I don't change the image sizing. That's the only thing that I do, okay? So here are some of my preset settings. I'm just reading this from the blog post because the titles are quite important. You can create your own export presets in Lightroom. So you just export, apply your preset, which will automatically happen the next time you do it. Lightroom remembers what you did last time. So you just go and export and it all happens by magic. So 1 meg, 75% JPEG. Screenshot on the blog post. So I've limited the file size to 1 megabyte or 1000K as it's shown in Lightroom. And I've dropped the quality to 75%. And this works for stuff I'm going to share on, just closing down Word, which will help when I try to read it. This works when I'm trying to, well, for photos that I'm going to put on my website and on my blog. It's a nice little general thing. And I've got to be honest with you, 75% with photos taken on a full frame Canon 6D. You go down to 75%, you're looking for the difference, you really are. So, I mean, try whatever you need to do yourself. Just you can expect the beauty of Lightroom and this digital stuff. You can experiment as much as you want to, and if you don't, and when you don't need it, you just delete it. And you're not changing what you got in Lightroom, so it's all good. Next one, client issue 92% 5K. I mentioned that one before, but I've got a preset, and I call my presets what they're doing, so I know what they are. Thumbnails 17032020. On my website, I need thumbnails for blog posts which are 375 pixels wide, 250 pixels high. So it's a very specific use, very specific dimension. And the file sizes need to be as small as possible so they're not slowing down my website. The last one I want to talk about is the Lightroom preset. It's one that's already in there, and this is brilliant, this. On every commercial shoot, without fail, once I've done my 92% 5 megabyte export set, I do another set. And the export is called, I need to get this one right because there's two, for email, and in brackets, hard drive. And what it's doing, it's reducing the file sizes down to tiny files. Now I do this for all clients for every shoot, like I said. So they get a high res set and they get a low res set. Now I don't tell them I'm going to do this, I just give them to them because I export the images once with one preset. They go in a folder in Windows, and then I just do the same thing again, and they go in another folder, and I send both folders, and it takes me seconds. And what they got is decent quality images that they can email to people. They love the tiny file sizes. Dead helpful, cost nothing. It's all about going the extra mile, isn't it? And why wouldn't you? Lightroom makes it dead easy. I name my presets, yep, mentioned that. So that's all I wanted to talk about, really. Lightroom does not change your file size until you export a photo out of Lightroom. Now, every time you do an edit, there is data there which is stored in Lightroom. But the file size is a physical dimension. It's so many pixels wide, so many pixels high. It's got such a resolution. And all the data is stored in Lightroom. I think it's in a separate file. I'm not sure. I should know that, shouldn't I? But it doesn't matter. Lightroom reduces your file size using the settings I've told you when you're exporting images out of Lightroom. If you want to read the blog post, go to rickmcavoyphotography.com and you will find it up at the top at the moment. And while I've got your attention, if I still have, why not check out my splendid Photography Explained podcast and the website photographyexplainedpodcast.com. Well, what were you expecting? Thanks for watching. I've been Rick McEvoy, and I will hopefully see you on the next video. Cheers from me, Rick.